All right, what is up, guys? Welcome back to Late Night Shots Podcast, episode 46 here. Today, I think we have a few topics for discussion. The first one is going to be Colton Schultz coming in with two huge wins out of the Big 12. The second is going to be Michigan versus Penn State. The Penn State, ranked number 3, beat Michigan 18-13 in their duel with some big upsets there and some matches that didn't turn out the way you think. And third, I think we'll get to what we missed out on last time, which is how Gable Steveson really goes about his marketing and trying to grow his personal brand, which I think a lot of people don't pick up on. I think that's an interesting topic that we haven't really went over, and I think a lot of people would be kind of fascinated by it. But, yeah, so the first thing we're going to get into is Cohlton Schultz. Cohlton Schultz was ranked, I think, number 16 before this weekend. He's out of Arizona State, the heavyweight, if you don't know who he is, number 1 in the country, tied with Greco, coming out of high school class 2018. Now he's at a red shirt. The two guys he beat are number 5 and 6, Gannon Gremmel out of Iowa State and Carter Isa out of UNI. So, David, what are your first thoughts about this?
I mean, I've been a massive fan of Colton Schultz just ever since he was in high school. I watched a lot of his matches. I haven't been, unfortunately, able to keep up with with his conference. I've mostly been focusing on Big Ten. But with 2 wins over the number 5 and 6, I think – in the rankings, it puts him where he's supposed to be, right? Because everyone talks about how loaded this heavyweight class is. And Colton Schultz is just another example of that. With Kirk out, Colton Schultz is coming in and, I mean, he has a real chance to maybe capitalize on it. I wouldn't say that he would be – obviously, I don't think he's really beating Gable. So, but with Kirk out, this could mean he places that little bit extra higher at NCAAs. I personally would love to see him maybe pull some upsets, but I think in the top 5 is where he belongs right now, where he's able to climb. He could be top 3 maybe if he pulls off a really crazy – if he wrestles Stencil or who else was it? If he wrestles Stencil or Hilger very well, then that could cement a good top 3 spot. I think, I don't know. I've just been really excited to see him finally be top 10. It kind of sucks seeing him at number 16, especially considering how highly touted he was. Also, personally, as a person who's a big fan of Greco-Roman, it was really nice to see a guy who was mainly touted as a Greco guy make it this far in NCAA wrestling, because, you know, there's this weird thing with wrestling where Greco-Roman guys are kind of put on the sidelines. Like, I think if you just take like I believe like Joe Rao is one of our most popular Greco wrestlers. Actually, Kamal Bey. If you look at like how many people follow Kamal Bey on Instagram, which obviously this isn't the only measure of an audience, but then you look at how many people follow, say, David Taylor or a Kyle Dake, or maybe for a better comparison, Mark Hall, right? The freestyle wrestlers kind of get a lot of credit, and I love all styles of wrestling, but it's really nice to see a guy who's really great at Greco get this high in the rankings. I remember I saw a clip from one of his matches, and he was just, I mean, obviously he was a highly touted recruit overall. He's no slouch in freestyle, 4-time Colorado State champion.
I think a lot of things people overlook, right? I think the first thought in a lot of people's heads were, with Kirklead, I'll give him a chance to place higher. A lot of people say, what about Seth Neville's coming in, right? So if you don't know, Seth Neville's had a near-perfect high school career, but he had 1 loss in the Doc B finals his junior year. And that was a 3-2 loss to Colton Schultz. This was the year Colton Schultz made the bump from 220 up to heavyweight, which is something a lot of people don't even know, right? A lot of these heavyweights, like, they weren't always heavyweights. Like, even Adam Kuhn, a guy who cuts like 30 pounds to make weight for every Greco tournament, kind of fell off the freestyle realm because it was too much of a weight cut for him. And massive, like 6'6", frame, just pure tank.
Colton beat Gable in high school. I believe it was, wait, no, I'm getting that wrong because Gable is older. Yeah, no, never mind. Colton was in the Fargo finals as an 8th grader, and I think Gable tagged him. You know what? Never mind.
I mean, I think Schultz did beat Paris once, and then Paris pinned him by like a defensive fall. It was a weird situation, yeah, but this was like back in the 220 days. And again, Paris is older than Schultz. You know, Schultz is a guy wrestling up a year. And then Neville's is a guy who's the same age as Schultz, kind of recruit the same. Kirkfleet is going to be really interesting to see because Kirkfleet's a guy. We did a podcast with him before. I think it was around episode maybe 14, 15, maybe, no, 25 probably. But Kirkfleet's a guy who started off at 182. Gable's a guy who started off at 182. Go with the Anthony Cassar. That's the guy who started off at 126 in high school.
Anthony Cassar began to.
Yeah.
I know he
White
went
from Oklahoma State was a guy who started off at 119 pounds in high school.
Sheesh.
Like, that's something people don't tend to realize. Like, guys just like how your body matures over time. It's like those aren't heavyweights. Like those are purebred athletes. Like that's what Gable Stevenson is. That's the best explanation for him. Like Adam Kuhn's a guy who's always been 6'5", he had a leaner build. You know, he's a guy who had to work to put on that weight. He's not a guy who just like a fat dude who transformed his body. Like he was a purebred athlete. Kyle Snyder, he's always had like a huge stocky build. He's always been 195, 220 in high school.
Just a bear, man.
Yeah. And, you know, Seth Neville's coming in could be huge for Penn State. Like, the Neville's family's the biggest family in heavyweight wrestling. Probably one of the biggest families in California wrestling, you know? They got Zach Neville's, who graduated from, I think, Stanford. AJ Neville's, who's now at South Dakota State after transferring from Fresno State. Nick Neville's, who just graduated from Penn State in 2019 after being a two-time All-American. I thought he would have been in the finals. I'll be completely honest with you, against Gable. If Cassar was not there, I think he would have upset Derek White there. But again, that's all for speculation. You can't really say too much about that. And, you know, now we have Seth, the youngest one. And it's going to be interesting how his career plays out, you know. Hopefully he can either find another school if Kirkfleet doesn't take that spot, or Kirkfleet, something happens there. I couldn't really tell you too much. But if his career can play out the way people think it will, you know, I don't think a national title is too out of the question when Gable, Paris leaving is him, Cassiope competing for the spot.
I don't know. That thought process has always been interesting for me. Like whenever you have two potentially really, really good guys, and I mean, there's no guarantees that Neville beats. There's no guarantees that Kirk beats Neville's for the starting spot anyway. I mean, if you think about the same situation in the Penn State room. You've got Shakur Rasheed and Colin Moore, right? They were both at 197. Cassar had to be brought out for a duel against Ohio, and then he beat Colin Moore. So I've always thought Penn State is just such a loaded upperweight room, and I mean, it's a great environment. So I think I would probably hold out all hope in terms of transferring. How old is Seth?
He's a redshirt freshman now, actually.
He's a redshirt freshman, and
Yep,
Kirk's a true freshman, right?
No, I think Kirkfleet's the same class.
Oh, okay. Well then.
But the thing about Greg Kirkfleet is he has this year. He could take this a free year. That hurt him more than anybody. That helped him more than anybody. Because if you go back another year, he could either use an Olympic redshirt or a normal redshirt because he already qualified for the trials.
Right, yeah.
So if that counts as an Olympic redshirt and this counts as a free year, or a medical redshirt, whatever you want to count it, he has another redshirt for next year.
Yeah,
which would technically propel Neville's another year ahead of him. You know, as they want to keep him as a weapon there, because you never know. Like Kirkland, if he was healthy, he's out now. But if he was healthy, he could have been the guy for Team USA. Like there's no telling what could happen there.
You'd pick Kirk over Gwiazdowski?
I don't think necessarily I'd pick him over him. I'm just saying, I think the credit has to be given again. Like people want to bring up his losses, a 3-0 loss to Tony Nelson when Gable lost to Tony Nelson like a year prior before he beat him, right? Yeah. Like people say Tony Nelson, like, oh, that's a bad guy to have a loss to. That's a 2-time national champ, 3-time national finals. That's the guy who's had 1-point matches with Nick Gwiazdowski and Don Bradley. Like that. That's like the triangle of upperweights. I consider Nick Gwiazdowski, Tony Nelson, and Don Bradley, right? Those are all guys who can have 1-2-point matches with each other. Nick Gwiazdowski and Don Bradley just wrestled. Nick Gwiazdowski won 3-0. 1 point was off a shot clock violation, you know? And all it really took was one double from Don. Could have been 4 points, and then, you know, it was gone, right?
Yeah.
But going back to Colton Schultz, right? I see a lot of things about people, you know, they're going to be like, oh, he can't score points like that. But if there's anybody at this level that I think is good at slowing down people's offense, it's Cohlton Schultz and Matt Stenzel, right?
Yeah.
I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, I was watching the clip of him scoring off of a chest wrap, and he didn't bring him over the top. He planted his elbow at the hip and turned, but it's that sort of defense that is going to make you really, really tough to wrestle at heavyweight. And you make the same point about Stencil, right? Because a lot of the time, like right now, what we're really, I think of this as like a different like age of like heavyweights, and I mean, it's always been the athletic heavyweights that are successful, right? I mean, going all the way back to like Brock Lesnar, this also comes to mind. You posted that clip of him hitting that cartwheel. Yeah. But I mean, right now, all these heavyweights are just so fast, and like they're excellent at angles, right? Like Kassar had a great straight on double. At 197, he was more of a lefty high cross guy, but at heavyweight, he was just blasting dudes because he was able to create angles very quickly. And Gable's the same thing, and he goes low ankle. So I mean, whenever you see a guy like Cohlton Schultz, who's comfortable in the scramble, in the sense that he can shut it down really easily, because most of the time, whenever a guy goes chest wrap, most Division I college wrestlers, once they get them sat on their butt, they'll finish pretty easily. But Colton really was just completely in control of the situation. Mm-hmm. So I think he's a very interesting change in the upper echelon of heavyweight, and that his strength is going to be his ability to wall people out and have those narrow matches.
Yeah. I'm kind of looking at the same thing. I actually got a comment on that post saying, oh, that chest wrap's not working against a guy like Gable Mason Paris. People forget that Colton Schultz is a world-class Greco dude. Like, he's not just some random Greco prodigy. Like, he's a guy who's already at that level. Right? Adam Kuhn, tech faulted him 1 year ago. But what people don't look at is he tech faulted him because Colton Schultz went for a head throw, and Kuhn got 3 gut wrenches because he's just a massive man, right?
Yeah.
And what else seems crazy to me, right? You know who Serrano Francisco is?
No, sorry.
He's like this huge, like, tank, right? He wrestled. He's not too great of a wrestler, right? He posted a picture with Mijan Lopez, and I posted on my story just to show people, right? Because a lot of people don't give that man enough credit, like either of them, to be honest, at that point. But people know how much of a tank Serrano Francisco is, because I posted one of his things one time and Flo posted it after, saying, "Oh, Serrano Francisco is a unit." Then you look at him besides Mijan Lopez. It's like that's the pure example of like there are levels to this.
I know. Now it's clicking who you're talking about. Didn't he retired and he's going to MMA?
Yeah, I think he is. I don't think he had the greatest career. Obviously, like he's not the greatest wrestler, but dude can throw hands.
Yeah.
Like I'll give you dude can throw hands and very well at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think Colton Schultz again, he could very well be the guy. Obviously I'm a huge Adam Kuhn fan. I'm gonna root for him to win any day, but I think Schultz is gonna be the guy in 2024 at least. I also said this thing once, right? Going back to Rulon Gardner versus Alexander Karelin. The day that happened, Colton Schultz said in the Flow interview that was the day he was born.
Oh, yeah.
So I made this theory, right? Rulon Gardner wasn't the favorite. I think it was Jermaine Byers who was the favorite to make the team that year. Rulon Gardner pulled an upset. Colton Schultz isn't the man to make the team this year. He's not supposed to be, at least. Adam Kuhn is.
Right.
He pulls an upset. Rulon Gardner wasn't supposed to get to the Olympic finals. He got there. Colton Schultz won't be. He will get there, right? Alexander Karelin was a 3-time Olympic champion, going for his 4th. Nobody in men's wrestling has won 4, or any wrestling at this point has won 4. Rulon cut him off.
Yeah.
Colton Schultz is going there. Mijan Lopez has 3 gold medals, going for his 4th. At this point, Kiyoshi Icho from Japan has won 4, but he's going to be the first male wrestler to win 4. Putting him, I think, I don't think necessarily the greatest over Karelin, but I kind of want to get on that also. But I think it's a valid conversation now.
I mean, it's a similar conversation to Karelin. Karelin, 3 Olympic golds going into his 4th. And in terms of stylistic comparison, Karelin getting a reverse gut lift is pretty much as certain a score as Lopez getting his hands locked on a gut, which it's just freaky what that dude does with a gut wrench.
If Colton Schultz, my theory was, I posted this even a while back, right after the interview came out, because like I overthink stuff, right?
Yeah,
a lot of us do that. What if Cohlton Schultz knocks off Lopez in the finals?
Well, then the collective world of wrestling loses its shit.
But, like...
That would be bigger than Rulon, because at least Rulon had graduated college by then, hadn't he? I mean, Colton's a redshirt freshman.
But what I am saying is, like, what I will say is, if Prime Lopez and Prime Karelin wrestle, Lopez, in my opinion, would win. But hear me out to why. It's no surprise for athletes have been improving over time, right?
Yeah.
You take Brock Lesnar, for example. Might have been strong, used on roids, whatever that is. Who's the best heavyweight in the world now? Tahoe Gore, Gino Petroshvili. Put those up. Not even Brock Lesnar, who's 2000 freestyle champion. Andrei Shmilin, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe from Russia, I think. He was one of the top guys, at least in the world at that point. Put him up against Gino Petroshvili. His had Tahoe Gore's number, so we'll say him, but Tahoe Gore's reigning Olympic champion. Put them two up against each other, it's not. Right?
It's not even.
But if you do look at, that's not the one thing I'm going to say. I'm going to say, right, if you put up Karelin against Reza Kyle, Karelin probably wins, right? Kyle's one of the best guys, Greco wrestlers of all time. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah.
But look at Lopez's just pure build. I think what would put him in the conversation for the GOAT is if he had won a medal in 2004 and not went back medalist. I think that will put him there. I think this year he's like 40 now, which that becomes the problem to me. I think if anybody is going to pull an upset, it's probably going to Reza KL. I think obviously those guys have been going back and forth forever. But you never know how close the match really is because he almost beat him by technical superiority last time.
Yeah.
In the Olympic finals.
Have they wrestled again since their 2016 finals?
I don't know. I think maybe in the World Finals, maybe once or twice. But both of them are still active right now.
Right.
So if you put Mihan, like, look at Lopez's pure build, right?
Yeah,
I think just on the level. Yeah. Karelin was huge, too. Karelin was 6'3". I think Lopez is like 6'5". I think pure build-wise.
Was also 6'5". Hang on.
Is he really?
I believe so. Let me check.
Yeah, but even if he was, right, you look at the pure build of these two guys, and you look at their ability to, once they get their hands locked, it's over.
Karelin was 6'4".
6'4". Mihan Lopez is gigantic. I don't know what that man is. I think Alexander Karelin wasn't cutting for heavyweight, but I think Lopez was cutting for heavyweight at the point it was 120 kilos and not 130. I think he's probably still cutting
the same size-ish, if not.
I mean, that's 22 pounds, let's be honest, though. Yeah. Like, in Greco more than freestyle, that matters.
Yeah.
Put them against each other. Like, obviously, it goes 6 minutes, I think, or 9 minutes, depending on which rules we're going by. But I think Lopez might have the advantage there because I don't know if Karelin can move Lopez that well, like he did everybody else.
Here's my big question: is just, I think this is one of those matches that it's going to be determined by who goes under first, right? I can't remember for the life of me because the rules change so frequently. But isn't it if no scores are seen after a sufficient amount of time, the ref puts someone on bottom, right? So then the question becomes:
I think that's if somebody gets a caution call now.
If someone gets caution, that's the only time that they put someone on bottom?
Yeah.
It could be wrestled on step outs, or it could be wrestled on who gets on bottom. Because if you think about it, these are both two guys.
What I am gonna say is I physically cannot fathom Lopez getting turned. If he's trying, obviously throwing world medals and everything, that's obviously gonna be the way it is. But
sorry, I got a phone call.
You're good. But Karelin, if he goes on bottom and Lopez gets his hands locked, I don't know how well that goes.
Yeah,
because I don't think Karelin obviously has that expertise in the bottom position. Because there was never anybody in the world that could challenge him.
He was never really put on bottom.
But Lopez,
it does come down to who can turn who, and
or who
a
can't
reverse gut lift. I think a gut wrench is always just going to be the easier score than a reverse lift, because, I mean, they're both uber technical athletes, right? But if you take like a super strong, what's the lowest weight class in Greco? Like around 120. I think it's lighter than
60 kilos.
It's 60 kilos actually. All right, so let's say if we take a super strong 60 kilo guy, he's not going to reverse gut lift like a 77 kilo guy, or you know what? Maybe let's say like what's the next one up? Like 87, an 87 kilo guy, right? So if we take like a dude of Lopez's size and then Karelin, because Karelin is just so freakishly strong, for the reverse gut lift to really work, he lifts him up and he gets him over. And a lot of the time, a reverse gut lift, the bottom guy isn't entirely in the air. It's just getting his hips up and then dumping him over his head, right?
Yeah, because you get the 1 point for the lift.
Yeah. And then he can – so Lopez, he can go both ways on a gut wrench. He can go trap arm, right? And if he gets a trap arm, that's it, right? His gut wrench on its own is good enough, and a trap arm gut is pretty much the end of a match most of the time.
With an athlete as powerful as either one of these two, yes, probably. But you also have to consider the fact that it's heavyweight, and if he breaks a lock, it's, again, could be a defensive pin at this weight class, but let's just assume he bellies back to bottom, and he runs the clock.
This is just the biggest problem. I would love to see this match. It's the same as like I talk sometimes with my buddies about. I would love to see, like, if we could go back in time. I would love to see Bo Nickel his senior year against Cael Sanderson. I don't even care if Cael Sanderson would probably win. I just want to see a prime Cael and a prime Bo, just because those are two wrestlers who are so like they're so high above pretty much everyone else at their weight class that you just want to see how they go against each other, because it's going to be a low-scoring match with Lopez and Karelin, right? I don't think that there's any disputing that. Most of the time, Greco is a lower-scoring style. So, and then whenever you, pardon?
I think you look at this. I think Lopez's style is more advanced. Like, he has more moves in his arsenal than Karelin does.
Yeah, because wrestling has definitely changed a lot since Karelin was wrestling.
Like, you see that chest wrap that he had on Riza Kaop in the Olympic finals. Like, 10 seconds into the match with no hesitation right there. Yeah. That's an Olympic champ level guy, too.
Yeah.
Right there. It's like,
we weren't seeing that out.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw that match was like when I just got into wrestling. I didn't even know the rules. I was like, hold up, how do you get points there? How do you get points there? I'm like, what's happening? Right? Yeah. But going back to Colton Schultz now, like, keep running off topic, but going back to Colton Schultz, like, realistically, you throw Adam Coon's got, right? Throw Adam Coon into the mix. Where does he place the best? Bronze. I think good tournament, he can place bronze, right? Riza Kaop already teched him. Lopez is just same story, probably. Yeah. Right, so Colton Schultz can get a bronze, in my opinion. I think bronze is open for anybody who wrestles their tournament. I think those two are guaranteed in the finals right now. But even Colton Schultz bringing home a bronze is it's huge.
That's huge.
That's the equivalent of winning a gold medal pretty much any other year. But you can't say any other year, because I think the only other year was 2004, right? Karelin dominated.
Yeah, and Lopez is probably retiring after this year.
He's 40, dude, I think.
Yeah, so
I think the thing is, like, how many wrestlers have won 5 Olympic medals? I don't think any.
Yeah.
Lopez could have been the first to do that.
Yeah.
But does 5 Olympic medals supersede 4 golds? I would say kind of, but it also depends on the world medals for the sole fact that you provided the line.
2004 he lost, right? Was it silver or bronze?
He didn't. He lost in the repetage.
Oh shit!
But he was also, what was that? 17 years ago. Like he was young.
Yeah.
Again, that's in a weight class with Rulon Gardner at that tournament too. And Gardner took bronze. Yeah, that's just something for thought. I'll leave the rest up to you guys who are watching, but that's just kind of my thoughts on that right now. I think kind of went a little bit off topic on the same thing we did last time, but let's hop into the next one. Michigan versus Penn State. Michigan was ranked second. Penn State was ranked third. Obviously there was a lot of debate on this. And it's been settled. Penn State's here, without Kirk Fleet. I think Kirk Fleet versus Paris is a swing match. Obviously, everybody's going to have debates on that. But let's walk through this, right? So 125, Robert Howard gets his debut. Jersey guy out of Bergen Catholic. 2-time New Jersey State champ, 4-time finalist. Then, I wouldn't say the best showing, but a win's a win, right?
He didn't pull out any massive, he didn't put up a crap ton of points. It was just a 6-5 match, but yep. It's a great debut to have.
It's a Big Ten win.
Yeah.
So 130. Yeah, that's really all there is to say about it. Awesome win. Dude, that's a bright future. Again, I won't say anything crazy, but if he wrestles like the Rob Howard I've been seeing, that looks like he just snorted a line of crack. I'm not saying he especially a chance for his money, but he could be in the finals there against him, with how open this weight class is.
Yeah, 125 has been kind of weird. I think
everybody's gassing up Sam Latona now, but I just don't see it. I'll be honest. Yeah. People say he can give Lee a run for his money. No, I'll be honest. The only guys I think can at 125, Suriano, I think can beat him. I think very possibly can beat him. I think it's either Suriano, Gilman, Lee for the spot. Gilman or Fix. I honestly, I cannot put Spencer Lee in that conversation. I think he is, obviously, but there's nothing to go off of there. If he comes there and Tex falls the entire field, I wouldn't be surprised.
Personally, I'm rooting Arujo, but
Arujo, yeah, Vito. Oh. Vito versus Gilman is not happening on the Nittany line card, which I think is also huge.
Oh, that's happening?
It's not.
Oh, it's not? Someone got hurt?
No, they're not doing it.
Oh, they never made that.
Vito got a match. Gilman got 2 matches. Vito's not. I think they're saving it for trials. Because if Vito wins, that moves him down a little bit more because Gilman already dropped that match to Seth Gross.
Right.
Seth Gross, again, the biggest wild card there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Dayton Fix cannot be overlooked at this weight class. I wouldn't, because he was the guy last time,
That's true.
I don't know how this suspension has got to him, though. That's kind of the real problem I see. And again, a guy
he looked excellent in his return. I think.
But who was that? Who did he wrestle?
Tournament? Pardon?
Who did he wrestle though? Who did he wrestle like? Again, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like if he beat a guy like RBY or something, they're like, oh, okay, yeah.
I think guys like Dayton Fix and Nick Suriano always have. They're guys who are stylistically they have such massive upset potential, right? Because every single Dayton Fix and Nick Suriano match is dictated by 1 or 2 shots, right? So if they keep it narrow right to the end, and then Dayton hits his inside trip, or Nick Suriano hits that perfect double, or a snap go behind, right? That's all it takes.
Yeah, I think Dayton Fix is just insanely slick, and Nick Suriano is just too disciplined and positionally sound.
Exactly.
What was his one real college loss? He had a couple, real losses, and I'm not going to count the hands to the face, right? Obviously.
DeSanto did beat him legitimately.
I think so, yeah, but that just looked like an off match for Suriano. And we'll take that back since he beat him again, right? But if you look at that match, Suriano had a bunch of calls that, as a Division I, as a college wrestler in general, you should have the awareness,
Yeah.
But he lost to Thomas Gilman, freshman year, 3-2 when he was at Penn State.
Yeah.
Lost to Spencer Lee in the finals, 5-2. Yeah. Lost to Stevan Micic, 4-3.
He keeps it narrow.
And makes the undefeated run at Big Tens and undefeated run at Natties and wins the title. He's a guy, he comes up big when it matters. 4-time undefeated state champion, second ever in New Jersey history after Anthony Ashland.
Yeah, he peaked excellently. It's the same thing with coming back to Penn State and Michigan. That's why you got to keep in mind with these Penn State guys. Carter Starocki gave up that first loss against
DJ Washington.
And then obviously he didn't peak for this, but obviously he would make adjustments, and now he beat the number 2 guy in the country 7-1, which we'll get more into that later.
Yeah,
But
obviously that match was a lot closer than you've seen, but let's hop into RBY. Dylan Ragusin bumps up to 133.
didn't expect that. I really expected him to stay 155.
Closer than I hoped. I was kind of disappointed in RBY's performance, I'll be honest. I was expecting at least a major.
Yeah, but I mean, it was your stereotypical RBY match.
Those close points are gonna matter. Those points are gonna matter. 19-13, this there.
Yeah.
If Strachey didn't pull that upset, what does that leave it? That leaves it 15-16.
Yep.
But if RBY gets the major, 16-16. Right. If Paris pins, these little things are going to add up, especially against a team like Iowa.
Yep.
Obviously, I think they kind of screw themselves over with Kerkvliet out against Iowa. Because I think if Kerkvliet comes in, Kerkvliet could possibly pin at least a major Cassiope.
Who do you think between Neville's and Cassiope? Okay,
I'll say Cassiope as of now. But I think that matchup is so stylistically evenly matched. And it's going to be a lot closer to 7-0 last year. Neville's has improved miles from where he was. That's something a lot of people aren't going to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Because, again, he's not that top guy. He's not the improvement of Mason Paris going losing the two biggest matches of his career at Nationals. After upsetting Amar Desi the first match he came in. And then turning into the next best guy at the weight class.
Yeah.
But, let's go to 141. Here we have Nick Lee against Drew Mattin. I will say this first off, Nick Lee did not get the major. He got a decision. But I also will say that Drew Mattin is very underrated.
Yep.
I think he's a guy who can make that push for the podium and decently high up at that. Obviously you're going to have the staples at the weight class with Nick Lee, Jaden Ironman, Sebastian Rivera, and then a guy like Chad Red and Tariq Wilson are always going to be there, I think.
Yep.
But I think he can make that push for the 7 or 8 spot pretty well. Cliff King Wrestling Club has been doing really good.
Yeah.
So you never really know what happens, right?
Yeah, they got some great guys in that room.
Yeah. Then you look at what was it? 149 with was that Terrell Bearclaw and Caden Storr?
Yep.
That match. Oh my god, dude. Bearclaw kept that close, man. I legitimately have no words for that. I was shocked. I expected Storr to at least major. But at the end of the day, all that I've said it before, I said it again, that's all that matters is who wins the match. Keeping it close isn't a win, But I think, again, looking at him coming in the Big Ten, Penn State peaks at the right times.
Yeah, they peak perfectly because
you can never count
RBY. Yeah, RBY is a true freshman. Didn't do so hot, and then he got tech-balled by DeSanto, I believe. Or at least majored.
It was bad. It was 12-4. Multiple things start putting his arm on. Makes it close. RBY. DeSanto catches the Merkel and Nationals, to make that 5-6 match. RBY gets bumped 7-8. Obviously, Ethan Lezak is going to be the biggest kryptonite for a guy like RBY. You're not stopping that top ride. A guy who can scramble and a guy who can ride on top is going to screw you over 99% of the time. But 157. Brady Berg with an upset.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see. I mean, at 157 and 165 at Penn State, obviously. I mean, 157 through 197, really massive shoes to fill. So, I mean, it's really good to see. Mm-hmm. They don't really have a world beater quite yet in Bergie like they did with Nof. But, I mean, hey.
Again, not – the chances of a Jason Nof at Penn State are pretty low, ever again. I would say that people are going to say the days of Penn State are beyond them, but Michael Beard held that match a lot closer than he should have. And Michael Beard is young. People forget that. Guy lost a 7-0 match to Nate Jackson. Nate Jackson's not too much of a scorer, but that match pretty well. Kerkvliet's going to be the guy most likely for Penn State there. 184. I've who's 184 right now?
Aaron Brooks.
Aaron Brooks. Yeah, no, whoa. Yeah, no, my bad. I was thinking about something else. But Aaron Brooks again, I don't know why he's only ranked number 3, but again
Because who's ranked above him?
I don't know. That's what I'm confused about.
Is it Hiley and?
Yeah, I don't agree with Trent Hiley being ranked above him. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I think Brooks won the title, and then Taylor Lujan was the man ranked above him. But again, that's what it is. I think he handles Hiley. I think Hiley lost to Summit JILO. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
No, I don't think anybody can challenge him at 84 except for Cam Caffey. I'll say that right now. I think Beard is a potential All-American, and Warner hasn't been doing too well. So I think more than not, that's a toss-up match, more than people want to think.
Yeah.
And then 74, I think that's the match of the night. That's what everybody wants to hear about. So Carter Storace upsets Logan Massa 7-1.
That's
in the rideouts.
That's a bloody big one. I mean, Logan Massa was who was number 1 at 174? I keep forgetting the bloody rank.
Michael Kemmer.
I mean, how does this not at least put him in the top 3 national finalist conversation now? I mean, he beats the number 2 guy in the country. Numerically, you beat the number 2 guy, you're now number 2. Yeah. And then the question becomes, how does he match up with Kemmer? I don't think Kemmer's never really been a guy who looks unbeatable. So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it could depend on the day. You look at how Mark Hall and Michael Kemmer matched up, and both times they were relatively close matches, if I remember right. I mean, it just becomes a question of when does Penn State, Iowa happen, and then how does Storace peak later on? I mean, for Logan Massa, what does this say about how he's going to do at Big Tens? Because 7-1, you were saying it yourself. That score makes it sound like it was like a much broader gap than it was. So,
I think Massa's a guy who tries to go like that, but he has a tendency to lose to high-level matches in overtime. But he can keep matches close. The difference between him and Vincenzo Joseph is Vincenzo Joseph can win overtime matches.
Yeah.
That's my main thing. Massa was down to Hayden Hiley, 8-0 at the RTC Cup. He got hit with the arm throw and 2 doubles. It was like a weird match. Like, I don't know how to feel about a lot of these things, but again, with Mark, I think this is something a lot of people are going to put together. Jason Nolf and Michael Kemmer used to go at it when Kemmer was at 57, right? Nolf is in the Line Wrestling Cup, which I think that might aid a little bit to Storace when he wrestles Kemmer. But Mark Hall is at Penn RTC. He's gone.
Yeah.
He's not coming back. Yeah. That, I think, there's huge also, right? Again, this Iowa room is getting more and more stacked.
Yeah, and the Penn State room, for the most part, is remaining really – it's remaining really strong. It's just losing Mark Hall does deal a blow because you know that those Penn State guys are talking all the time about
but
I remember Jason Nolf and Vincenzo Joseph have both said in interviews that I believe it was Chenzo was about to wrestle Aymar, and Jason Nolf said that he had success with slide bys, and then Chenzo scored with slide bys, if I remember right. But I mean, I don't know. I'm a huge fan of Logan Massa, and I was also a massive fan of Storace. Still am. It just sucks to see these guys wrestle and one of them to lose. But I mean, hey, I feel like after that initial loss, everyone was kind of like, oh well, he's a freshman, it's whatever. And now we're here, and you just beat the number 2 guy in the country. I mean, you talk about a way to get back in the winning column.
I will say, again, we talked about people picking and choosing who to make excuses for. But, again, in the case of a freshman, people are going to give you a lot of leeway, right? My real question is, DJ Washington just had a 16-second pin. Obviously he's against Maryland, but he has to be in that talk now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where he factors in, but he factors in somewhere. That's something it's going to be very interesting to see.
Definitely All-American, you got to say. Because he was unranked when he beat Starkey, wasn't
he? When's the last time Indiana had All-American?
Jackson.
Nate Jackson? How long ago was that?
Jackson was a really good All-American. He beat Bo Nickel, and I know
he beat Bo Nickel. I think he beat Miles Martin once too.
He was this close to knocking Nickel out of the finals too.
Yeah, and then Martin finished the job.
Yeah,
that's people don't realize Nate Jackson's college career is just so irrelevant now.
I mean, it's still good.
When people look at Bo Nickel, people look at Bo Nickel, what do they think of him as? 3-time national champ.
Yeah.
People look at Dave Taylor, what do they think of him as? A world champ. They don't look at his college career, 2 national finals, 2 losses. Got pinned by Bubba Jenkins, lost Kyle Dake. Kyle Dake, what do they think of him as? They don't think of him as a world champ. They think of him as the guy who won 4 national titles in 4 different weight classes. Jordan Burroughs. So idolized. But, again, didn't win medal at the Olympics, won 1 gold medal.
Yep.
And Miles Martin's a national champ. People just view him as I saw people calling him Bo Nickel's kid, he didn't beat Bo Nickel in the national finals where he won, right?
Martin is something like 8th in the world, isn't he?
I don't know necessarily, actually. He was a lot better.
He was top 10 in the world last I checked. Let me check.
I don't even know what's going on 8th. I know Donnie and Taylor are going to be the Olympic finals. That's all I can tell you right now. And Taylor should win that match. Again, though, Martin is a lot better than people give him credit for at this point. He beat Alex.
Martin's ridiculously good.
People don't look at the amount. Look at the amount of national titles that are at that weight class. Zahid Valencia 2, Mark Hall, that makes 3. David Taylor makes 5. Bo Nickel makes 8. Ringer makes 11. Did I say Nickel already or Martin? Nickel.
Yeah.
We're putting Taylor that makes 13. Martin that makes 14. Mark Hall that makes 15.
If you look at his freestyle record, it's really good. He's 40-8, and his only losses are to Taylor, Valencia, Daringer. He has 2 to Heflin, and Downey of all people. But I remember that match. He kind of just
that was a long time. That was a while ago, right?
Yeah, no.
Look at this year, except for getting handled by David Taylor, which is whatever.
Who doesn't get handled by David Taylor at this point?
Yeah. Oh, and Gabe Dean too. Add 2 more national titles to that. That's 17 right there. But again, Gabe Dean's a guy who's amazing defensively. That again is a guy, one guy who could beat Taylor in my opinion, or Miles, not Miles Martin.
Yeah,
I want to say Alex Daringer has history.
Like Taylor.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm not gonna put Bo Nickel. I think Martin has Nickel's number next time.
Really?
That's just me. I will say that confidently.
I think Nickel's evolved so much since they wrestled, though, because I think whenever, he was viewed as an upper body guy. So they met in the finals 2 times. Nickel was known pretty much exclusively as an upper body guy his freshman year. He was everyone always talked about his double overthrow, right? That was the big thing. And then at 184, he had started to diversify his game a little bit. And by his last 2 years, it was a completely different wrestler pretty much. Mm-hmm. He still has that throwing ability naturally, but that lefty high crotch is absolutely nasty. So I think that is something.
Again, he beat Alex Daringer 1-0. He couldn't put up a single real point. And Martin puts up 9 on Ringer. The thing about Miles Martin, he evolved. He could, you saw the hand fighting in that match.
Mm-hmm.
That was nasty, and he could do it. So again, this could be some good thought right now, but you never really know what's going to happen until it happens. I think Martin could come out and somehow lag drop him just like he did in the national finals, or Bo could just come out and stick him like he did in the national finals. So,
yep.
But yeah, so the final topic of discussion today will be Gable's mentality, shit talking, whatever you want to call it, subconscious manipulation. I don't really know how to go about this. Yeah, kind of marketability. Gable Stevenson is the most followed college wrestler at 146,000 followers. Only 3 college wrestlers have surpassed the 100,000 follower mark on Instagram. Gable Steveson, Nick Suriano, and Rome Bravo Young. Spencer Lee is the closest to 96.9 thousand, 97,000. If he posted, probably beyond that, but he doesn't, I think Nick Suriano was just that much of a story that year. But you see Gable Steveson, Rome Bravo Young, they're chasing to build their personal brand. And, they do what they have to do, But you look at Gable's mind games of manipulation, right? I think the one time I was talking about, everything that comes out of Mason Paris is liked by Gable Steveson.
Yeah.
So people see that. Maybe Gable Steveson sees. Maybe Mason Paris sees it. You don't know. You see the small things. If you saw his match with Boone McDermott from Rutgers, I post that in my comments section. I'm like, oh, show the elbows Boone's throwing. But people are too, again, ignorant to realize like Gable initiates everything. Right? Nobody just goes like, oh, I'm just going to go elbow Gable Steveson for no reason. No. He was pushing him, comes up with the elbow, just defending himself. I'll give him that. Obviously, he got body slammed for it, but
yeah,
it is what it is at that point. You can't act like Gable's completely innocent in this situation. I think he's done that at so well of a level to mess with guys. Like even the most like disciplined guys, like Don Bradley. He had Don Bradley pushing him. I think again the only guy that might not work on is Nick Wazowski.
I like the growth. I like the in his marketability. He said himself that whenever like his freshman year, he was just straight up like a heel, just trying to be a jerk to everybody. And this is kind of different, like I remember because it's kind of that thing where if you think about like in the WWE, which is what he's aspiring for,
mm-hmm.
he's been out and out with it, and it personally it saddens me. I want to see him succeed and get the money that he wants, but I just kind of wish he would stay with Team USA for a little bit.
Again, that's kind of another thing I want to get into, though. Right? You have him going to WWE. I said this before, right? Brock went to WWE. Brock was a guy who was praised and loved by everybody.
Yeah.
Goes to WWE, everybody's like, oh, he's a waste of his career, waste of potential, waste of this.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Gable right now.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you they're going to switch up on him as soon as he goes to WWE.
Yeah, it's going to suck. Because I think that there's in the combat sports community in general, there's like this general disdain with WWE to the point where it's like,
it's just stupid in my opinion.
It becomes like they forget how talented you were, right? Like I remember like, well, I don't remember, but I remember reading about it. Whenever Brock Lesnar came into the UFC, everyone was like, oh, you're washed up. Like you spent all this time in the WWE. There's no point coming into like real fighting, right? So I think whenever Gable makes the switch, some people are they're gonna be negative just unnecessarily. But I think with Gable, you see this change in the marketability where now he looks untouchable, right?
Yeah.
And this is the thing. What was his words? Like people need like someone to hate, and like some people have marketed themselves with this. Like Tony Ramos did that. Austin DeSano kind of does that. I think Austin DeSano is incredibly marketable, but he doesn't constantly try to market himself. He just is inherently.
Yeah, he's not on social media. I think that's just like, again, like you feel bad for the dude. He gets so much hate unnecessarily. He does things, but again, guys provoke him too a lot.
He's a legit wrestler. He's legitimately really good.
People forget how good he is. Like I'm obviously not the biggest fan of the dude, what he does, but as a wrestler, dude, he's good. May compete for Natty. He's a dude like he has the mentality to succeed. Yep. He's just too ingrained in it where like he doesn't realize his conscious actions at the time, and he just does stuff subconsciously. Obviously it's yelling in Soriano's face. Like, I doubt he actually planned on doing that. It just happened in the moment. Yeah. Again, you can't defend that action, but it is what it is really at that point.
And so with Gable, he said himself, whenever people hate you, they're going to watch you because they want to see you lose, right? But then you got this dude who's pretty much, he hasn't been touched by anyone except Gwiz, who he then avenged that loss, and Kassar. And Kassar's gone. So now you've got this guy who either you hate him or you love him. And he is winning every single match, and he's making it look – the word's easy. He's making it look easy.
Yeah, people talk about Gwiazdowski like he's like, oh, Gable's just gonna go tech fall Gwiazdowski. You know, it may happen, but again, people were talking about Gwiazdowski like he's a nobody.
That's
The
ridiculous.
dude's the best heavyweight talent to come out of college that decade.
Yep.
Again, I will say this 100% confident every time. 9 out of 10 times, Gwiazdowski would have beaten Snyder.
Really?
But no, that's just what I think. I will say that. I think after Snyder took him down, Gwiazdowski looked like he suffered a little bit mentally because he hadn't been tested in so long, right? It's like 9 out of 10 times Karelin will beat Rulon.
Yeah.
But again, all that matters is what happens on that stage, and that was the 1 out of 10 times.
Right.
You know, like it's just one way to think about it. You know, obviously Snyder is at 97 kilos, Gwiazdowski's at 125, right?
Yeah. Gable, sorry to come back to Gable. Gable's marketing ability, I think in the long term though, is going to be fantastic for wrestling as a whole. Because I feel like inevitably, whenever someone goes to WWE, now I haven't watched WWE since I was like 8, but inevitably there's going to be talk about like what this guy has done before. So of course they're going to bring up his NCAA wrestling background. They're going to bring up his freestyle ability. They're going to bring up just his overall, like how he conducted himself, right? Because most guys, you know, like 99% of college wrestlers, you know, they win the match, they raise their hand, go, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes in higher profile matches, you'll see celebrations. Gable celebrates every single match, and he makes a point of it because he's just absolutely dogging on these guys, right? So you're inevitably going to get people from the WWE going, oh, I want to see what this guy's about. They look at college wrestling, and at the very least, it's more views. At the best, there's now like one more person who's into college wrestling and wrestling as a sport as a whole. So I think it does pain me as a person who's like a huge fan of amateur wrestling in all 3 styles to see someone as talented as Gable say, hey, after this year, I think I'm done. Has he said he'll wrestle Olympic team trials? He's got to be wrestling team trials.
So what I'm thinking is like, if he does this right after he graduates college, this is his junior year of college sophomore wrestling. See if he does this, has 1 more year, graduates college, gets a degree, WWE. He's a 2-time national champion, 1-time Olympic gold medalist, and 1-time world gold medalist. That's the best he can do.
Yeah.
Does that. Where does that place him on the spectrum of all-time greats out of the United States? Does it?
Out of the United States,
because
in the conversation, it depends on how he does it at that point. Just because, you know, you have all these guys with such high medal counts.
If he beats Nick Gwiazdowski, which, you know, stats are showing he will, right? Goes to the Olympic finals, knocks off Taha Ghul, reigning Olympic champion. Makes a world final, knocks off probably maybe Gino Petrashvili or again Taha Ghul. Has 1 gold medal in the World Championship, 1 at the Olympics, and 2 national titles, and a 3rd place All-American. Like, where does that put him? Because you look at this, like Jordan Burroughs has 1 Olympic title also. You know, you can have 1 Olympic title and like 5 world gold medals. A person with 2 Olympic titles is going to go above you immediately.
I don't think so at that point.
Like, that's what I would say. Like, unless you get screwed over so bad. Say if I wrestle from like 2001 to 2007. You know, that makes a case. But I mean, if you have a chance at the Olympics and you miss the team, then or miss out a medal, that's what I think. Jordan Burroughs' all-time legacy is going to be hindered just like the slightest bit with that run at Rio.
I think it puts him in the conversation if there's going to be a lot of people legitimately defending him as possibly an American GOAT in wrestling. It has to be about how he does it. He has to basically he has to continue to do to people what he's been doing, right? But he has to do that to the best guys, right? Because we haven't seen him against a top 5 guy yet. Nope, never mind. Cassiope. Scratch that. Wait, no.
Cassiope.
Yeah, Casio. Yeah.
15-6.
Right, that was the match.
Cassiopei's like the average.
He has to continue because you don't get a lot of those like flash pins in freestyle. And Gable's excellent in freestyle as well. If anything, I would imagine it's his best style as a takedown guy, right? But he has to continue.
And he plays the center so well, which is
exactly.
He plays the center so well. He uses push-ups to his advantage, right? You play with Kassar, right? Kassar's not the easiest guy to take down, but it's not a warning if you got to bounce. It's a point.
Yeah.
It's that's where I think it varies so much. Like you make it a freestyle, you make it a folk style match. I'm taking Gwiazdowski over Gable. Pretty much, I think most people would take Gwiazdowski and make Gwiazdowski now with the free spot with the folk style expertise he had in college, right? Obviously,
right.
Obviously guys don't practice it anymore, but you take that,
right?
Probably a different match. With Adam Kuhn is probably a big one,
right?
If Adam Kuhn gets on top of Gable Stevenson, who knows?
Yeah, so I think so in this hypothetical, 2-time NCAA champion, world gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist. So that's
and a third place All-American.
That's 2 senior world level medals, right? And
yes, but
people
one
talk
Olympic
about
medal.
Pardon?
I would count like an Olympic medal as like 3, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. So I hate talk by like pure by the numbers. Like the common thing that gets brought up is like, oh, Khabib only has like 3 title defenses, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a matter of how he does it, right? So that's why I say, because what made John Smith so good, it was both how he did it and also like the sheer number of medals, right? Mm-hmm. So because with John Smith, he invented a takedown, right? I don't think that's happening anymore, right? I think wrestling has kind of reached its saturation point for takedowns, unless Mark Hall perfects that like overhook, back hook thing, Peterson thing he does, and makes it a fundamental takedown. We're not seeing anyone who invents a takedown and then dominates the world for ages with it, right?
It's like Corella didn't invent the reverse body.
He just perfected it.
Yeah, but I think that's going to go down as his move.
Exactly.
And I don't think there's any way about it. But you look at Jordan Burroughs.
Is going to be this guy who's a heavyweight who can move just so excellently. But he has to continue to do it against guys who can probably move with him, like Geno and Taha, right?
Yeah.
So I think I'm rooting for him. I really wanted to do it because if he does it, it will be spectacular, right? It's just really tough to see anyone other than Geno and Akgul in that Olympic final.
Yeah. And then you have Kasimboy Rakhimov from Uzbekistan. I think that was Gable's last world level match, and he was pinned. Mm-hmm. He gave one upper body, got tossed and pinned. Mm-hmm. That's gonna be huge for his confidence. Get that back. I think subconsciously he's been wanting to get that back.
Yeah. He's not the kind of person to let any loss go unavenged.
He wants that match with Kassar. At the end of the day, I'm taking Kassar over Gable any day. But being from New Jersey, I'm from New Jersey. I have to. I ride for the boys. But Kassar let out tweets like, "You can't have a rubber match when you're down 2-0 in the series." Again, I think these guys are just probably joking around. I think we all know that Gable would beat Kassar now. Paris may be a little bit debatable. I don't think Paris just dives at shots and finishes because he's so strong. I think a guy with the foot speed of Kassar is going to get past that.
You want to talk about a marketable guy? Like, what do you think about? I mean, I'm saying marketable because he's not exactly marketing himself very well right now. What do you think of Ferrari like right now? Because he's had those talks with Gable. I think
he likes to go by any publicity is good publicity. That's good to an extent, right? Yeah. He can still fix his image, It is what it is. But I think another guy we have to talk about. It's a very interesting one. I don't think you've thought of this. What do you think about Steve O'Pullen?
I want to see him succeed. My problem with 106 and 113 guys is just always how does the size go in college, right? Because if you think about like Kurt McHenry, like dominated in high school, right? Like, it wasn't even particularly close. He teched his way to a cadet world championship. But he was pretty undersized. And, you know, obviously you're wrestling in Spencer Lee's weight class, right? That's a tough weight class as is, right? Because the question will never be like, oh, he's so good, he's like top 3 in the country. The question will always be, how does he match up with Spencer? So Kurt Mckenna has been one of those guys who kind of disappeared off the map for a little, because I remember he competed at 2018, who's number 1, and like now he's like a redshirt freshman in college. But it's always going to be a question of how is he put on the size. So Poulin finished as a 113, right? So the question is going to be, so obviously he's going to redshirt after graduating. And then how does he put on the size to be a full-blown 125-pounder? Because especially he's still going to be competing while Spencer Lee is in the mix, right? Because redshirt this season, competes next season, especially senior year. So
is he in college right now, or is he still in high school?
I think he's my age. I think he's class of 21.
Class 21, right? This is Spencer Lee's.
Oh wait, no,
3 years.
This is Spencer Lee's season. I think red shirts.
So if this is Spencer Lee's,
okay, you know what? Actually, scratch all of that, because now it's clicking.
Spencer Lee is this year and next year, right?
Pardon?
Spencer Lee is this year and next year, right? If Steve-O takes a redshirt year, is there a possibility that he could be the guy after Lee leaves? Or, because, you know, how cool would it be to have the guy from that old video?
Yeah, exactly. That would be
like actually live up to the hype.
Yeah, see, that's the biggest thing for me, right? That viral video is what makes him so marketable. Also, I think he has a YouTube channel where he like continues to like upload stuff about competing or whatever. I like how he wrestles. He's got a really great. I like how he wrestles freestyle. He's got a great lace, great bow and arrow too. Yeah, he's kind of like, he's got that weird thing where like I feel like 106, 113, and 120, they all wrestle kind of the same, right? It's kind of like, what is it, like you stick 2 cats in a bag and like you see what happens, right? 125 in college is really, really methodical, right? So if you think about a guy like Poulin, who's kind of, because for one, he's also always been like the longer, lankier guy in his weight class, right? He's not going to be at 125. He's going to be like pretty much like the average size. And again, he might even be undersized. So if you think about a guy in his situation, it's going to become, how do you deal with having to put on size to compete in a weight class that's full of people who have to cut a crazy amount of weight, right? Because 125ers in college are probably 145ers in a high school season. So I'm rooting for him. He's hugely marketable. He's another one of those guys where, like, again, and that's what's incredible to me, right? Because it's not even like Gable, right? Most people have seen that video. They're vaguely aware that he was a big recruit, and they're like, okay, let's see what he does in college, right? Gable's huge because of what he's done in college. So Steve-O already had that advantage going in, right? And I mean, it's not like Gable wasn't a highly touted recruit already.
Yeah, I think he had more thing because, you know, that backflip video went viral.
Yeah.
And he was on the senior level, you know. We got – I think he low-key got a lot of clout after getting hit with that 4-point crotch lift by Adam Coon.
Yeah.
But again, I think the one thing I really want to talk about, Drake Ayala, when he comes to college, does Iowa get 4 more titles at 125? Because Ayala just knocked off Richie Figueroa, who's number 1 a while back.
I don't know, man. It's always tough. Like, I never like to say, like, oh, this guy's going to be a 4-time champion whenever they're, like, just coming out of high school. But, I mean, I think Ayala is a dude who – I mean, the talk after who's number 1 was, oh, my God, he game planned so well for Figgy, right? Me and my friends all talked about it. He had a very keeping his hand on the mat to avoid the slide by, right? I think that ability to plan per opponent
affects
I don't know
a lot
how
more at the collegiate level.
I don't know how that works at the collegiate level, because I'm thinking it's whenever there's a clear and defined, you're chasing this guy, right? After Lee leaves, there's not going to be an uber defined guy at 125 for him to chase, right? So there's going to be no one for him to like watch and be like, all right, this is how he takes people down. But obviously he's also going to be aided by the Iowa coaching staff, who I know watches film like crazy and they analyze really, really deeply. So for one, I'm just glad to see Iowa pick up a recruit from Iowa. everyone's made jokes about how University of Iowa is only really good because they recruit from Pennsylvania. So it's kind of nice to nice to see Ayala representing his home state, and hopefully he can get it done. I mean, again, 4-time champ talk is a little too early, but I will say if there's going to be a 4-time NCAA champ at 125, it's going to be coming out of Iowa probably.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'll be honest. My national finals prediction was Dylan Ragusin versus Spencer Lee. I think that's a solid take.
Well, now
I'm
that
not a
Ragusin
huge fan of Sam Latona.
What do you think?
Of what? I don't think he moved up. Actually, I think he just bumped up for RBY.
Oh, okay.
I think if he knew he couldn't take the major and then their start, something like that. But yeah, so we went over Cohlton Schultz, Michigan State versus PSU, and Michigan versus Penn State. My bad. And Gable's marketing ability. So, if you guys made this far, thank you for watching. And we will. This has been episode 46 of Late Night Shots. Any closing words?
I don't know. I mean, shoot us both a message on Instagram. Any topics that you want us to cover? Yeah. Yeah,
or just drop them below in the comment section if you're watching this on YouTube. And so this has been episode 46 of Late Night Shots. We will see you guys again next time.